Okay. I'll tweet it out now.
Hey, everybody. We are live. This is the Wednesday show. I am your host at Mike Killy on Twitter. And with me, as always, the ever cheery and positive Mike Ristano at Bonzo1273 is where you can find him on Twitter. Mike, how's your week gone thus far?
So it's I don't know, when you and I talk about this all the time, it's just it's crazy how we have all the emotion of the pregame show on Sunday, and then obviously the emotion of the game, and then the emotion of the post game show, whether it's the highs of highs or the lows of lows.
Yup.
And then it's a blink and a blur, and we're back on the Wednesday show, which as you know, I mean, we wake up and we think about this stuff. So that portion really exciting. The news today, no Baker tomorrow. I know, that's one of our first things we're going to talk about today. But I the only thing I could think of after seeing his presser yesterday was there must be a ton of swelling in the joint, and because he strikes me as the type of guy, and I'm sure you would agree that he pain doesn't bother him. He finds a way.
Yeah.
He's that alpha male type. So I got to believe it's just a lot of swelling in the joint, and I think even if some of the guys are out, and we'll get to that later, this team can still take care of this Denver Bronco team. So I guess I'm feeling pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think, for me, I like to let the stain of the losses wash away pretty quickly, especially on a short week. I think the problem that has stood out to me all week was the news about, Baker. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? The chatter on Twitter. Do we want him to play at this point? Has he shown us, what he has in the tank right now with the injured shoulder that apparently is a bigger deal than maybe had been let on? And statistically, ever since it's happened, he's been incredibly inaccurate. I can't really blame Baker for the Chargers game, because the Chargers game, he put up enough points. You score 42 points, you should win football games. That's just the bottom line. That's enough points to win a game.
Yeah.
The last game, the Cardinals won that game from the opening possession, and both from on their offense, and then when they stopped us on defense, and then went down and scored, it was like, oh, okay, well, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
And we just could not answer, and it very well could have been, we only scored that one touchdown. The Hail Mary, as fun as that was, as it gave us a little bit of hope there, it still wasn't enough to propel us to turn it around. And I don't have all the answers. I have plenty of things that I can point to as the leading indicators as to why last week happened.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. Okay, so let's think about this. Referees were suspect at best. Injuries to key positions: Nick Chubb, Jarvis, who's been out for a while, and probably the most important ones, the two tackles.
Yeah.
And then you add on top of that some backups who make just ridiculous mental errors. And on top of that, you've got a quarterback who's trying to tough out a very painful injury, who re-aggravates it, and then we can't get it on. I mean, I think there's a lot of blame to be placed. The coaches, the wide receivers, the defense, the offensive line, the secondary in general. I mean, there's just so many things, so many fingers you could point as to what happened in that game. And the only thing we can do, and I tweeted this out before, the last time we had our doors completely blown off, and then we had a turnaround game in Cleveland on a Thursday night, it changed the trajectory of our season.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'll give you this. The last time we beat the Broncos in Cleveland, 1989, we were 3-3 at the time, and we went on to the AFC Championship game. Much different time, much different team, much different injury situation.
For sure.
But it just goes to show hope exists, and it is not time to panic just yet.
Yeah,
are you panicking, Mike? Or what, like on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me.
I've gone back and forth on it, and not so much panic mode, but, what are we? And what are we with injuries? What are we when the injuries subside and we get some guys back? Because for intent and purpose, you've got Hunt and Owusu Koromoa, who was a huge loss, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But you win tomorrow,
mm-hmm.
and again, I'm up in the air about who is going to come back. We know that as far as the offensive line, Conklin and Wills, they both were limited today. Questionable. OBJ's questionable. So we may, for this game, even be without, both tackles again, and without OBJ, and obviously Baker, and you got Dearness back there with Felton, which I think will be fine. But with all that being said, then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and they're all there. Now, are they missing their leading tackler for an unforeseen amount of time? They absolutely are, and it's going to hurt. He had 27 tackles so far this year as a rookie, and leading the team, and didn't even start until week 3, I believe it was. So that's the biggest loss. But if you put that aside,
who is that? Is that Browning?
Or is that
Patrick? Oh, you're talking about us.
Yeah, I'm talking about us. Yeah. Okay. So from the defensive side of the ball, it's tough to replace a guy like Jock, but they can do it, and they're full complemented everywhere else. I think maybe Malik McDowell might be out, but they've got enough horses on the defensive side of the ball to hold down the fort. And Case Keenum he's a wily vet. He'll get them some points. So I really think, and I joked about it on Twitter earlier, and I played I put that GIF, the GIF on there of you got to fight for every inch any given Sunday, and that's really what has to happen, because to bring this full circle of where I was going is you scratch and you claw and you fight and you win this game tomorrow night. I don't care if it's by a point. I don't care if somehow, some way they figured out a way to figure a new scoring and we win by a half a point and it's like a fantasy football. I don't care. You just find a way to win the game. And then I know come next week, you're going to get a lot of healthy guys back. If the tackles don't play tomorrow, I guarantee you're going to see them at home on Halloween. Chubb, I believe you'll see him on Halloween. Baker, I think a week after, letting that thing calm down a little bit, getting the rehab and the therapy for it, I think you're going to see Baker on Halloween. I think you're going to see OBJ on Halloween. I think you're going to see Jarvis Landry on Halloween. We may see him tomorrow night, and we may not. I much rather see him next week if he's not 100% to go tomorrow, because the last thing we need is to aggravate something else on somebody. So point being, I was upset on Thursday. It took a little bit to get over the that melancholy hump of another week of no Victory Monday. My Victory Monday flag came that you so graciously sent me, and
Mine's right there.
I see yours in the background, and I was so excited to get that thing flying outside from my neighbor. So, again, so we win this game, and I think we got a nice little stretch of opponents. Um, you know, the next 5 games, including tomorrow, that it's not, far fetched to, you got to get one at a time though, but it's not far fetched to go 4-1 or 5-0, and you're right back in this thing as we start, getting healthier. So
Sure.
that's where I'm at.
So I mean, let's talk about Baker now. He's out officially.
Yep.
Did not practice. Limited practice yesterday. Did not practice today. Actually, before we get into that, let me give some shout outs to everybody in chat. Thank you guys for being here. We got Troy Kozlowski, Ray, Chubble Hub, 24, Evan Chase, Mr. Bsif, Roger King, Mids Plug. I saw some other pals. Nathan Rothacher. My dad's here. Anybody else that I missed, I'll try to get to you a little bit later. Guardians, let's go. So just thank you guys for being here and joining us on this Wednesday night. If you're not a subscriber yet, hit the subscribe button. If you are a subscriber, hit the like button. Help us out. Ryan Burlow, what's going on, man? Shoot the thrills in the house. All right, so let's talk about Baker a little bit. Here's my theory on the Baker situation. I was talking to my wife about it, who has become a diehard Browns fan, just like myself. And she asked me, "What's the Baker situation?" I said it was ruled out today. It's a dark day in Cleveland, but I think Case Keenum there are worse backups to have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly not the worst.
Paying him $6 million, right?
Yep. Let's make your money, Case. He has plenty of experience in this league. It's not like it's his first time out there where he doesn't understand the speed, and he's going to be as my dad says, like a deer in headlights. He's very capable. He also has limitations. He's not in peak physical condition in terms of his age, so to speak. He doesn't have the tools from the physical skill set as a Baker Mayfield does, so we're not going to get that. He's also not going to be armed with his full complement of weapons with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, possibly 2 very good tackles, and some weapons on the outside as well. I tweeted this out today. It's going to feel a lot like preseason Browns.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what we're going to be seeing. Now, with the Baker situation, so let's look ahead, because we know tomorrow it's Keenum time, right? On Halloween, let's throw out the scenarios. If Keenum let's start off with Keenum is amazing. So 3 different buckets. Amazing, just okay, maybe wins, doesn't win, but just okay, isn't the reason why we lose, just kind of just okay. And then really bad, 4 interceptions, completely the reason we lose, and looks absolutely lost out there. Those are the 3 buckets. I think if he's really exceptionally good, right, if he plays peak Keenum, I think he goes the following week against the Steelers, and it's TBD as long as he stays. Now, here's the reason why. Baker has a torn, it's not like partially, it's completely torn labrum. That arm is hanging off, right? It is in a sling. Like they have it, when they have that thing in the sling, that's in there for a reason. It's not there necessarily for protection. It's there so his shoulder doesn't literally just fall out of the socket. It is torn completely. And if it wasn't super bad last week, it is after the way he got hit and fell backwards on it. Okay, it is gone. That thing is going to be in it. That thing requires surgery and will then need time to heal. If he gets surgery the day after the season ends, or at some point, if they call it like, look, Baker, we are out of playoff contention It ain't where the season's a loss by, you know, the midpoint, something like that. We roll off a couple losses in a row, and there's like, look, we're gonna bail on this thing. He gets shut down, surgery now, begin rehab for your fifth. Okay, that's if now again going back to the scenario. If Keenum does exceptionally well and rattles off that win like it's butter, and Baker's a little bit better next week, what do you think will happen?
Oh, I think if Baker can go, he goes. Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I think Keenum could come out and put up 35 tomorrow.
35,
Three,
3 to 4 touchdowns, no interceptions,
yep.
300 yards passing, looking peak Keenum. You still think the following week Steelers, we're going to see Baker again?
If he can go and he lets them know, yep, I'm ready. His trainer says, yeah, it's looking good. The swelling's gone down. We strengthened, some more muscles around the cap there. Yeah, there's no doubt there. He's going to go. Unless that thing is just swollen and he can't move it and it's down by his foot. If he can go, he's going to go. And and if he, you know, it's interesting. And I talked about this a little bit earlier in the day, but it's we picked up his fifth year option, right? So he's getting 18.86 or something like that next year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's already locked up. So he's not in a position to where, somebody's going to come off the street and say, hey, Baker, we're going to give you $30 million a year. Not going to happen. And he's either going to take less from us if they do want to put a deal together at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to just let the fifth year option ride and see where that takes us again, to see if in year 5 he's worth the big money. But I think if he can go, then he's got to go. And the only reason I say that is because if you go back and you watch the last film, and I don't want to get into too much of it, but he's just not going through his progressions very well. There's guys open, in some cases right in front of his face, and not as blatant as those the guys in the flat a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, but guys that are breaking wide open in front of him, crossing routes, which are, in certain coverages when I was watching back, OBJ for one on a crossing route down near the goal line, he is the first read in the, in the coverage or the I should say it was an all out blitz. So OBJ should have been his read, and it wasn't. He didn't even look that way. So he's got a lot of developing to do. So I guess the moral of the story is, for me anyway, Baker Mayfield's not going anywhere. And I know there's people out there that want him gone. There's people in the chat that want him gone, and there's people on Twitter that want him gone. And we go back and forth on him, and we get angry with him and whatnot. But the bottom line is, there's nobody out there. There's nobody coming up in this draft. We're not even going to be close enough to sniff to get up there anyway. And there's nobody out in the market. And I don't know if you saw earlier, and not that I'm a Deshaun Watson guy, but it's almost imminent that he's going to go to Miami, and Tua is going to wind up on the Washington football team. That might get done in the next week, they were talking about. But yeah, as far as Baker goes, and back to the point of, should he play next week if Case has a good game or he doesn't have a good, I think, yeah, if Baker can go and he feels good enough to go, then that's your guy, and you throw him out there. It's funny because that injury is really peculiar to me, and the reason why, like, George Kittle has a fully torn labrum in one of his shoulders, just refuses to get surgery. He said, I was reading an article about it, and he was saying that, you just strengthen the muscles around it, and it sucks, it pops out, whatnot, but it's less downtime than if you had to go get the surgery, which is pretty interesting to me. But so point being, I don't think he's going to get surgery this year. I don't know if he's going to get it after this year, but he's going to maintain it and get it to a point where maybe next week, maybe the week after, but I think definitely next week. If you ask me personally, no matter what happens tomorrow, he'll be under center.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting thing because Baker doesn't need his left shoulder necessarily, other than from a balance standpoint, which I believe is off. I believe his balance and then just
Yeah.
mentally balanced is off, physically balanced is off. But Kittle needs that arm. You know, you catch the ball with two hands. You reach up over your head with two hands. So that is crazy. I did not hear that about Deshaun. Um, I wonder, like, is the situation with the football team that bad they don't believe in Heineke? Or why?
I'll
Like,
tell you
why
what.
would they want Tua?
You know what? After the beating I took in one of my other leagues, because I somehow started, what's his name? How do you pronounce his game? What is it? I want to say Heineke, right? Is that it?
Yeah,
Is that how you pronounce?
Heineke.
He had like 7 points. Yeah, he's Tua would be a huge upgrade. Yeah.
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, I wouldn't want Tua. Nice mug. Let's just show both. There you go.
Hold on a second. Tell me when it gets in there.
Zoom is. Zoom.
Killing us.
There
There
we
we
go. There
go.
we go. The official Wednesday show mug, the official Lil Mike emoji on the Wednesday show mug. Guys, if you're interested in the merch,
I think I broke a
brownie
finger doing that.
browniepostgame.com. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that they finally want to move him because what's the point, right?
Yeah.
He's a legal liability. He's wasting, he's just wasting away. And unfortunately, they were holding a lottery ticket. You know, when he said he didn't want to be there, they had a lottery ticket that they could have pulled the trigger on
Hmm.
and said, you know what, give us three firsts. Somebody would have came up and did the deal. If you saw what they gave up for Matt Stafford, I mean, what is Deshaun Watson? What is no legal issue Deshaun Watson worth? Five firsts? I mean, what do you give up for a sure thing? A sure thing.
You know, it's not a sure thing, but it just made my night. The fly guy's here. Sorry to interrupt you,
Is
but
he
I saw
really?
him and I had to throw it out there.
Fly guy, the biggest Ravens Browns fan in existence. Fly guy, well,
Period.
welcome back, my friend. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think that's crazy. I'm still wrapping my head around Deshaun Watson's situation. In terms of Baker, okay, so you're in the hard. He's playing. If he can go, he's playing.
Yeah, most
Now,
definitely.
so let's talk about this, and and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. Do you think that because the medical staff, both the team doctors said he shouldn't play, he didn't overrule them. He didn't go, to hell with your medical degree. I'm playing. He didn't do that. He's saying, all right, fine. And a torn labrum, could you do some rehab? Can you ice it? Can you do that stuff? Yeah. It's not going to heal in 13 days.
No.
It's going to be a similar situation. Halloween, maybe not as bad. Maybe the inflammation goes down a little bit, but it's still going to be a bad situation.
Yeah, it's probably going to be one of those things where, and again, maybe not next week. I still hold true that it's going to be, but it's going to be one of those things. And you tell me if you agree, Mike, that, let's say he goes next week, he's good. He plays the next week. I think we have the Bengals the week after. Or no, I'm sorry, Pittsburgh. I'm going to be there. The Steeler game, and then I think the Bengals game, and then he falls, pops it out, and now rinse and repeat. We're going through this whole thing all over again. How bad was it? What does the swelling look like? What's your pain management look like? Can you play? Yeah, I'm going to try and go, but no, I can't go. And I think that's really to your point about that type of injury. I think that's what's going to happen the rest of the way. And he's just so competitive that you can't even. I almost feel like, you tell me what you think, but like I go back a little, like a Troy Aikman or um, I don't even know, and any other quarterback that starts in the league that hurts themselves like that. They're really mindful of, hey, I got a hurt limb, so don't do anything stupid. Make sure that you get the ball away if somebody's coming. Try to limit your hits. And if there's not something there, usually I might be a playmaker. Maybe I'm a Randall Cunningham type. And usually I would scramble. But, I just broke my leg and I'm just coming back from it. So let me just throw the ball away so I don't wind up injuring myself. And there's a lot of guys out there that are like that. But unfortunately, Baker is just, he's that type of tenacious, you know, Brahma Bull type of guy that all goes out the window. You know what I mean? You could tell him before the game, hey, watch the shoulder, limit your hits, whatever. But as soon as the whistle blows, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't matter at all.
No, he's just that type of guy, throwing blocks, trying to make something happen. And as you know, bad things happen. And I mean, could he have fallen a worse way?
I don't think so.
Right? I mean, I I'm pressed to remember a quarterback ever falling like that, period, on an arm like that. I can't I can't think of
Yeah,
any of it.
you're actually right. Falling like this, your non-throwing shoulder, and then landing, and then bending it backwards. If it wasn't torn then already, it would have torn then.
Yeah. So yeah, what are you doing? And then
I
and
don't.
then and then to your point just now, you need to know when to say when on an interception and a guy's coming at you and he makes a cut, and you probably want to stay away from that situation. But again, is Matt Ryan going in to make a tackle? No. Is Josh Allen going in to make a tackle? He is, but I mean, he's built like a linebacker. But is Drew Brees, was he going in to make a tackle on an interception like that? No.
No,
Those guys
if you're gonna
tiptoe around.
if you're gonna go after if you're gonna make it if you're gonna throw an interception, you have a chance to tackle a guy. You got to go after their feet. You got to tackle like a defensive back. You can't try to take him on, like you're Ray Lewis, and
Yeah.
you're gonna throw a shoulder into the guy. It was
Yeah.
just I mean, that's almost in terms of an injury, like best case scenario is
Yeah.
you're gonna pop your shoulder out and tear a labrum. Worst case scenario is you do that and you get a concussion,
Yeah.
you know? And so I think I think I don't know. Baker is he's still got a little bit of his Oklahoma in him, and
Does it
he's
ever go away? I don't know. I don't think it does.
at some point I think it does. At some point the gamer thing he's got to start playing more cerebral, because you look at what happens when you lose that player. I mean, losing Nick Chubb, it's bad. Losing Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, really, really bad. Losing your starting quarterback is devastating. It's devastating. And
You
he
would,
did it to himself.
yeah, no, he did. And you would think, and you tell me, a guy nursing a shoulder, and it's not like a little tweak. I mean, he's nursing a shoulder, right? You talked about it ad nauseum. You would think that with that type of injury, and the way you've been playing recently, that you would drop back, go through your reads. If nothing's there, throw it away. Right. So you can almost kill two birds with one stone, knowing that, hey, I can't, I know what I usually do and what I usually try to do with my legs, but in order for me not to hurt the team and hurt the team being not being able to play, I've got to be smart about it. So let me let me make sure this game, I drop back, I go through my reads, go through the progressions correctly, and go through them quick. And if it's not there, throw it away. But that's just not him. It's balls to the wall 24/7. It's him, doing the ball thing like Major League, right? And on the sideline, and it's yeah. I mean, eventually those things come back to bite you, and unfortunately, it has. And now you've got an inaccurate quarterback, an inaccurate injured quarterback, and an inaccurate injured, not going through the reads and progressions quarterback.
Yeah, it's like he's injured, mentally as well.
I agree. I totally agree with you. And you and I have talked. I really believe that he is.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about a ton of it. It's like there's no way Dorsey was drafting Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And if Josh Allen would have came, there's no guarantee that Josh Allen becomes who Josh Allen is today.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee of that because of the Hugh Jackson situation. Freddie Kitchens, God, who knows, right? Maybe he does.
Yeah.
Maybe he's still amazing, but I think there's a lot to be said to have a young quarterback who was drafted on talent, size and talent alone,
Yep.
and who's developed under the same system with a very supporting cast, and allows and the game. If you have that kind of size, you can build around that frame, right? And that was Trey Lance, San Francisco. They drafted a guy with a frame and potential.
Yeah.
That's it. Frame and potential. Okay. So with Baker, he doesn't have the frame, but you don't necessarily need it if you've got elite accuracy, elite arm strength, and have a mastery of the game. Look at Drew Brees. I mean, Baker Mayfield's taller than Drew Brees.
Yeah.
He's arguably a better athlete, faster. And if I were Baker Mayfield, I'd be heading to wherever the hell Drew Brees lives and spend some time with Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I'd figure it out mentally, and I'd figure it out physically how to change his game to whatever Drew Brees did. Because, I mean, if you ask Drew Brees to throw 50, 60 times, he's going to go, high five, I got you.
Yep.
You ask Baker Mayfield to do that, your chances of winning drop drastically because Baker doesn't always use his brain.
Yeah.
He uses his physical gifts, which can be easily neutralized. That's why he gets at least one ball knocked down every single game. Every single game. Do you remember Drew Brees getting the ball knocked down consistently?
Every now and again. Yeah, every now and again.
Yeah, but every quarterback gets the ball knocked down every now and again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that's the thing. If Baker's going to do it, I also feel like, this is another observation I've had about him this season.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when he runs, he looks like when he's just like his acceleration, it looks like he's like when he gets going, then you're like, okay, he's moving. But just to get him going, he looks like he's just like his feet are in the mud. Like he cannot move quickly. Whereas you saw, I know it's an unfair comparison, but Kyler Murray, he's like Speedy Gonzalez.
He's fast.
Zip. I mean, and it is the gear that dude has is like on par with easily on par with Lamar Jackson. Easily.
And that's another guy that, I mean, you go back to his pro day. I mean, it looked like clay pigeon targets, right?
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson. And interesting. And I know we all do not like this guy as Browns fans, but Coward had a little piece the other day about it, and he was right on. Lamar is such a humble guy that, they say to him, hey, Lamar, you need to work on X, Y, and Z. And okay. And what does he do? He works on X, Y, and Z, and he gets better at that. And he's done that consistently. And it pains me to say it as our division rival, but I mean, you watch him play this year, and I mean, it's not all run. There's still run there, but when he's asked to step in the, drop back and step up in the pocket, I mean, you can't deny that he has not performed, because he really has, in terms of fixing the accuracy issues to an extent. And he's not afraid to stay in the pocket, and he's not afraid to climb in the pocket. And I think that's something that, on our end of the spectrum, I think that's something that Baker lacks right now. Is he goes through these spurts, Mike, and you tell me if you agree, but there's spurts where you go through like a run of games where he's got the protection, and he drops back and he goes through his progressions. He feels something. He steps up, and he fires, and he hits somebody. And then all of a sudden it's like bad Baker comes back. Right. And now he's not going through his reads. He's not stepping up in the pocket. He's looking to bail out. And as you could hear in the background, Bonzo's angry about it too. But yeah, they just need to find you just got to work. You got to keep on working and keep on working, because again, he's not going anywhere. So you've got to make it. You've got to make it work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you're right. It's weird because he baffles me, because he'll have a game where he's 19 for 21, and you're like, my God, that's a professional quarterback game. And then he'll have a game that he like last week, where it's like he's not hitting anybody, he's not seeing anything. He's, his team isn't bailing him out by making, any type of, catches, or circus catches or non-circus catches. Like, you're not getting that kind of stuff. And, you think about a guy like Jarvis, you just throw it within 5 yards of his vicinity, and he's going to come down with the ball.
Yeah.
Right? You just do that. And I think OBJ is the same way. I just, for whatever reason, I mean, you had Baker Mayfield in his career has had very good wide receivers at Oklahoma, and then, I'm sure before that.
Yeah.
And he just found a way to hit him. And now we're not seeing that. And, I don't know. I love the guy. I really do. I think he's, like, as a professional, I don't know him personally, but I think as a player, I wish him the best. I have Baker jerseys. I've gifted a bunch of them. I'm very well invested into Baker Mayfield.
That makes two of us.
And I love what he's done for the team and really turned things around. And he's done a great job.
Yeah.
But that being said, we're in a window. We're in a win now mode. We're not building anymore. We've built.
No, I agree. And if you look at the list of free agents next year, there's a bunch of key guys that aren't around next week. And it's you and I, like, we sit here and when we talk about Baker, and they're all valid points, and the chat's talking about Baker, and Twitter's talking about Baker, and those crazy Facebook pages are talking about Baker. But I'd be remiss if I didn't come out and say tonight, on the eve of I would say one of the biggest games in recent memory, because 3 and 4, you're not looking very good, especially with the way the division is shaken out. But with that being said, I think Stefanski needs to be better. So, he's not exempt. And I'm not saying that, Stefanski has to go or whatever. None of that. We've got the coach. But again, he's a young coach. It's his second year. That first year, you and I talked about this, I think, last week on the Wednesday show. It's a hell of a lot easier to call plays and go through the ebbs and flows of a game when there's not 70,000 people screaming in your ear, and there's 3,000 fans in the stands. So the atmosphere is different. The adrenaline, the hype of calling the plays and what have you. So, he needs to find his way. And I get it. Andy Reid said it for years. He needs to put players, in the best position to make plays. Absolutely does. And that's why he gets paid the big bucks. and he gets to wear that Nike equipment elf sweatshirt, and he needs to make sure that he does everything in his power starting tomorrow, that his mantra of 1-0, he's got to make sure that he does everything to go 1-0. And part of that, besides his offensive play calling, is telling his defensive coordinator, let's go. Let's go. Start getting these guys in position to make plays. If that means that Denzel and Newsome and Greedy and Troy Hill are man press guys, then hey, start calling a little bit more man coverage on the outside. Try and limit all these broken plays because they're killing us. And you go back to the Chargers game, 2 blown plays. You take those away, and we win that game, and we might not even be having any of this conversation that we're having tonight. And the last thing I'll say about that on the defensive side of the ball is I'm sure you saw the stats. First down, we're like first in the league. Second down, we're like second in the league. Third down, we're last. And I think about this. I've thought about this every day since Sunday. If this guy could tailor the defense to the strengths and get these guys off the field on third downs, Jock would not be hurt because he wouldn't have still been on the field at the time when that injury occurred. And that's just frustrating to me.
I think Joe Woods to me has really been a failure. I think last year the defense was abysmal with limited talent, but talent was still there and we were bad.
Yeah.
This year we've upgraded at almost every position. And then we're blessed with finding a diamond in the rough in the second round where JOK falls to us.
Yeah.
And he plays like a superstar. And we still are giving up 40 points, in games, 30 points in games.
Leading tackler. What's going to happen tomorrow?
This is the time, when your chips are down, you're really going to find out what you're made of.
Yeah.
And you're right. Stefanski has to be better. I don't think Joe. I don't know. I thought we turned the leaf. I thought we really did. When the Bears game happened, the Texans, the Bears, the Vikings, I'm like, okay, all right, this is good. But can you imagine if the defense that we got in the Bears game was our consistent defense? We'd be a championship team.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think the most disappointing thing, and I said this to my dad last weekend, the most disappointing thing about this whole thing, and I think was really getting to a lot of Browns fans, is actually having an honest conversation with ourselves at this point and realizing that this is not a championship team yet. If you want to be honest, a 3-3 team, the 3 games that we lost were all to playoff caliber competition.
Yeah.
Right? We're at this point, we're really no better than the Broncos. Even though everybody was laughing at the Broncos for the games that they won. How are we really any better than that?
No, I agree. Mediocre.
Can we get to 10 wins? I think there's a path to 10 wins. I really do.
Yeah,
I don't think there's not a path to 14 though.
No, I don't think so either. And there's some people out there that are still like, oh yeah, we can still get 13. I don't know. You really have to make a run. And like you and I talked about earlier, like now this is the span of games that you have to start making that run because before you know it, you've got the Ravens back to back. You've got the Packers on Christmas.
This is that middle patch that will define the season because these are, for lack of a better word, these are the softer games, like on the schedule. We had three soft games with the Texans, the Bears, and the Vikings. We took care of business on all 3. Not really convincingly, other than the Bears, which I'll argue even that game, the final score 26-6, looks better than really what it was.
Yeah, agree with you.
So then you have this next soft spot, which is Broncos, Steelers, Bengals. But I'll tell you, no, all 3 of these games are going to go. They're not going down without a fight, and the Patriots are not going to go down without a fight. We don't typically play well in Foxborough. And then you got the Lions, who should be another one. But at this point, I think we could go 3-0. I think the reality of us and the chance of us going 3-0 in these next couple games is exactly the same as us going 0-3.
Yeah.
And if we go 0-3, you can, at that point, if we're 0-3, I would pretty much say, Baker, you probably should hang it up and let's get better for next year, and let's mail it in. Because not mail it in, but just give it to Keenum and just see if we can squeak something out. Because we have not had one game yet this season that we have had a complete football game between the offense, defense, special teams, and coaching. We haven't had one fully complete game.
Nope.
We've had great offensive games, the Chargers. Great defensive games, the Bears. Great coaching games, I guess you could say adequate coaching game, the Vikings. We've had great special teams execution, other than maybe our punter, who I guess had an average game, but we'll see what the PFF thought of that.
Hey, if you look at the Houston game, right? Even before Baker got hurt, with everybody intact, we were not setting the world on fire. Like I as a matter of fact,
yeah.
After Tyrod went in with that score that he hurt his hamstring on, I think we're very lucky that he hurt his hamstring, because
he was going to take care of business in that game.
That
he was looking good.
Oh yeah, that had shades of that disappointing flight I had a couple years ago after the Titans game, when we were so hyped up and it just didn't live up to it. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we've yet to see what we've been waiting for. That's for certain.
Well, I think at this point we have the way that history is going to judge this season is going to come down to these next couple games. This Broncos game is a must win. Oh, yeah. In terms of this game, and the Lions games are the only two that we're going to be heavily, heavily favored, both at home, both versus, on paper, inferior teams on paper. But the Broncos' strength is their defense. And we're playing a backup offense. For the most part, we're playing backup offense. So that could be a problem. And our defense, unfortunately, having given up 47 and 37 points for 2 weeks in a row. I mean, if I'm the Broncos, I'm going, we got a shot here. We can go in and win that game. No problem. Let's go and take care of business in there. Teddy Bridgewater's not a bad quarterback. And we'll see. And we lose that game, then comes the Steelers on Halloween, a game you and I will both be at.
Yep.
And that game will determine, are we gonna kind of fight, or are we actually getting swallowed by the bowl? Like, are we flushing?
I tell you what, they take care of business tomorrow night. And I think, and we talked about earlier, you're gonna have a handful of guys that are gonna be back. You win tomorrow night with your back against the wall, which is exactly what it is. I think the high and the feel good of that win, they're going to be electric on Halloween. Absolutely electric.
Well, I have a feeling tomorrow night is going to have a very Texans-Browns game feeling, where I think we're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be, we're not going to murder them. And I mean, I called that the Browns were going to win last week. And when we got off the pregame show, I walked out to the living room and I looked at my dad. I said, "Dad, I really don't feel, I lied to the people. I just said, you know what, Dad? I really don't feel good about this one. Something is there that makes me feel uneasy, and I just don't feel good about it. But I also didn't feel good about the Vikings. I felt very nervous about the Vikings game, Chargers, I kind of accepted that was going to be a really tough one. It was like hope for the best situation, but probably won't, going out West Coast against a very, very good offense. And then our defense who just decided to not cover two guys and give them, 3 points. But this game tomorrow is really going to set the trajectory for the rest of the year. And if I look at it like this, Mike, and tell me what your thoughts are here. I know we're eventually going to move on to the other topics, guys. Don't worry. I'm just like,
Oh, and you know what? Just so they know, I have the PFF grades locked and ready to
ready
go.
to
They're
go.
up.
Okay,
They're
cool.
up.
So if my dad is still here, we will be talking about them. But if you're the Browns organization, what can you do? What do you have to do? What analytics are you looking at that has to say Joe Woods is worth another year? 33 points, 21 points, 6, 7, really good.
I think he's on notice.
47 points, 37 points. I mean, is it to the point where we could have a shift? Like, could we lose Joe Woods mid-season? Or are they going to be like, nah, we can't do that?
Yeah, no, I don't think you see him. He's not going, because
it could happen though. We're not getting rid of Stefanski.
No, but the thing about it is, and you tell me, it's almost, if you get rid of Joe Woods mid-season,
yep,
you're just getting the linebacker coach or the D-back coach or the quality control, whoever becomes the new defensive coordinator. They're just running his system the rest of the year. You know what I mean? It's too late in the game to try and change the system for the guys. It would even be worse off. So
yep.
I can't see him going, but I could see, Mike, them all having a conversation that says, look, we got to start playing to these guys' strengths. If it's a little bit, if what you're calling is they're not comprehending and it's tough and they're still trying to figure it out, simplify it. I do think that those conversations are probably going on though.
Fair.
Yeah.
Let's get into the injury report a little bit. I do want to talk about the Broncos side of things. Of course, when I say that, I just clicked
right now.
I clicked
right now. Your dad's jaw just hit the ground. He's like, "Wait a second! You said PFF."
I did, but we have an arrow.
I know, you're right.
Points.
We have an agenda.
It points, right? So Broncos side of things, I don't want to go back through the Browns. It's too depressing.
Right.
The Broncos, they're losing Baron Browning. Concussion, did not practice. He didn't practice Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Is that their safety?
He's out. He's an inside linebacker.
Okay, because I know there's safety too, right?
They have another. They do have a questionable safety.
Yeah.
Caden Stearns, he had limited practice. It was an illness. Then you've got who else is out? Alexander Johnson was placed on injured reserve. He's another inside linebacker.
He sounds like the 7th or 8th, 9th president of the United States.
Alexander Johnson. Andre Mincy, outside linebacker. Aaron Patrick, outside linebacker. So I mean, the middle of other than maybe Von Miller, I mean, the middle of their stuff is meh. Teddy Bridgewater is also nursing a foot. He was limited practice.
I heard through the grapevine that Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be a go, and Locke is going to start. We'll see, but that's what I'm hearing.
Interesting. Because of the foot, or because of just because of the foot.
Yep.
Hey, I'd be happier with Drew Lock going against us than Teddy. I think Teddy can manage a game better, and I think just in general is a better quarterback than Drew Lock. But I think Drew Lock, if he heats up, he's got a bullet. He's got a cannon of an arm, I should say. If he heats up, and if we let him do his thing, but if we get pressure on him, I think we could bully him into making big mistakes.
Did you happen to see your dad's comment in the chat, which is which is
Waiting with
epic.
bated breath. Like, come on, guys. Okay. All right. Moving on. Let's hop into the PFF. This is a very short. We did 55 minutes on Baker status and other bullshitting. And
We did,
then
it was entertaining bullshit. I didn't think
It's the Wednesday show. We're trying.
all bets are
We
off.
have a show. We have a rundown. We have an agenda. We loosely play to it. Usually we get right into the PFS because my dad really wants to see that. So usually we go right into it. But
I
when
mean,
your starting quarterback goes down,
I'm drinking out of a mug with my face on it. I mean, it's fun
it's
times.
the Wednesday show,
It
right?
is.
My wife's like, "What's going on? What's the plan?" I'm like, "I've got the Wednesday
Yeah,
today."
yeah. You know
Um,
what? I'm yeah. Same over here.
yeah. It's like, what's the plan tonight? What do you mean?
Like
It's Wednesday.
there's there's holidays that happen once a year, like Thanksgiving and Christmas and Halloween, we'll say, because it's right around the corner.
Mhm.
And then there's holidays that occur weekly, and that would be the Wednesday show.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday is a holiday.
I thought there was a I thought there was an actual holiday on Wednesday. I thought I was just looking up the Christmas. Like, is the Christmas game on Wednesday? But it's not. It's
No, it's
Saturday.
Saturday, right?
Saturday. But like, man, if it was a Wednesday Christmas game,
Oh, forget
it would
about
be
it.
crazy. It would be crazy, Tom.
Don't worry, it's going to happen.
It's gonna
Maybe
be.
5 years from now, but we'll be
We'll be at
be
it.
a little bit more gray.
Um. Okay, PFS scores. Mike, I will let you lead the way in what you want to do, offense or defense. Let's go for it. You tell me, or special teams if you want to throw a real curveball.
Well, I was kind of excited about this because I was trying to figure out which what I wanted to go first on and what I and do I go offense? Do I go defense? And then I thought, I mean, why not go with the hot button topic, which is OBJ, and everybody trade OBJ, even not being targeted when he's wide open. He led your PFF scores this week. Odell was one with a 90.9 offensive score.
Do you have a 90.9? Well, I'm sorry,
And
90.9, right?
90.9
With
he
a
played.
critical drop pass.
Now, to play devil's advocate, I watched the play over again like 25 times.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, not to derail this 2 seconds, I watched the end of the Monday night game, and Laura said, "Hey, are you coming up soon?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be right there. The game's almost over, and I'll be up." So the game ends. I shut the TV off. I go to get up, and I'm like, I wonder if the all 22 is out yet. I look, it's not, but the condensed was. So I'm going through the condensed, and I wanted to see how Jock got hurt, and actually it was Sunday night, and I must have watched that play like 25 times, and all of a sudden I got a text message that said, "The TV's off. Are you still watching the game?" I'm like, "No, shamelessly, I'm actually I'm on the 25th time watching Jock's ankle fold under him." But yeah. So point being, I watched that play too, and could he have caught it? Sure, but the D back really got
He
his
did.
hand in there.
He got his hand in there,
Yeah, he
and
got
that
his
might have
hand
been
in.
what PFF saw as well,
Yeah.
where they gave it to him. They're like, "Hey, the defensive guy made a play, right?" And
You know what'll make you smile? Who do you
yeah,
think was two?
offense number 2,
Yeah.
Teller.
Let me see. Close. Teller was 3 with a 76-2. Excellent run block, 83-1, and actually an excellent pass blocking grade of a 72-2.
Who is number 1? Let me think. I actually have to look at the depth chart. Peoples Jones.
Yes. Yes. 83-8. Excellent game.
He had his game.
Yeah, he sure did.
I mean,
he trucked that guy too.
He
huh?
had his Njoku game.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, I was telling my dad, when here, you want to know something funny about the OBJ, right?
Yeah.
I sat there and, we're getting shellacked and we're getting a little bit of momentum, and Baker hits OBJ with that slant and he gets tackled. And I said to my dad, watch, he's going to get hurt. I'm like, it's great. It's great. We finally have momentum. We finally have something going on. Watch, he'll come up hurt. And then I stood up because I think I was going to go to the bathroom. I stood up and they were like, then you see OBJ holding his shoulder, walking over the sidelines. And then they showed the replay where the two guys landed on him. And I'm like, are you effing kidding me? I mean, at this point, it got to the point where if something bad could happen, it was going to happen. And I called it in the moment that it happened. That's how ridiculous, and how if you flip the coin of positive, negative, we are so far negative in terms of bad luck that I could call an injury as it happened. Right? So, well,
Thank God it wasn't. The only thing I thought of was initially when they played the replay, I'm like, oh, tell me he broke his collarbone and we're not going to see him again this year. That's what I thought it was. So I was actually happy that it was shoulder, as not to be sick and twisted, but it was better. It's better than a collarbone.
It's better than a fracture, but
yeah.
And here's what I was also thinking. We got Jarvis gone and Odell gone, and I said, here you go. Now you're going to get to see what the Browns are like without these guys who, to your point last week, how he just a magnet for defenders.
Yeah.
Okay, so now playing man up, now that you don't have those magnets, how is DPJ, how is Higgins going to play? How is Schwartz going to get involved somehow, please? It's like, where are these guys? Is Felton going to get involved? We have that one play where Felton goes for a touchdown. We have not seen that play again. They just put it in the archive. It's gone. Never to be seen again.
I'll give you an interesting PFF stat. Okay.
Okay.
Wyatt Teller, a 72.2 pass blocking grade.
Yep.
JC Treader, an 84.2 pass blocking grade. Joel Bitonio, a 79.1 pass blocking grade.
Great grades.
Blake Hance, 67.8 pass blocking grade. Still in the green, mind you. And Hudson was a 65.6 in the pass blocking grade.
Not terrible.
So don't get me wrong. The tackles got beat a few times, but if you look at those stats, those aren't putrid offensive line stats by any stretch of the imagination. So, if that is the route that has to be taken again tomorrow night, I'm not going backwards. But what I will say is, if they get that same type of play, Keenum is not the type of guy that is going to tuck tail and try and run somewhere. He is going to maybe try and sidestep some pressure, step up in the pocket and get it out of there, or he's going to get sacked or throw it away. So
that's the one problem. Like Baker, my dad was saying this all along. He just holds on to the ball too long.
Yeah, that's why he got hurt.
Watch Tom Brady. 1, 2, 3, hits back step. The whole time he's got his eyes downfield. He's looking guys off. He's looking what he's doing, and he fires. And the guys are open. Baker does not have that ability, and in this game, like, you need it. You have to, and if it's not there, then move and throw it away. Don't try to make miracles happen. If you look at all the bad plays that have happened to Baker this season, almost all of them, they have been when Baker's tried to do more than what he was being asked to do in that moment. He's got to understand that he doesn't have superpowers, right? So, okay. Next up. So we got Teller 3. Yep. Oh, and by the way, one other point I'll make.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Hance's natural position is guard.
Yeah, and he's playing well. I mean, he's the 7th ranked offensive guy.
Yeah. Blake, I am not worried about the left tackle.
No,
right?
I'm not either. No.
At this point, Blake Hance is playing well enough to be basically on par with what we were getting production wise from Jedrick. He
Um,
really is.
you know what? You bring that up. I'd actually go a step further, Mike, if you could believe this. Hance's numbers per game are actually better than Jed's numbers. Now, are we saying that Hance is a better player than Jed? No, not at all. A healthy Jed is solid. But point being, if you go by the numbers, there hasn't been that much, or if any, drop off at the left tackle position.
And for Jed, in his defense, he's been a shell of what he has been or what he should be playing at because of that injury, that ankle injury, and he's been toughing it out. But you could see a Jed at 70% is not as good as a Blake Hance at 100%, and we have the numbers to prove it.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Mike: a more seasoned Stefanski, right? Does he put the hammer down a little earlier and say, "Look, you tried to give it a go. It's done. We're going to sit you for 3 weeks. We need you healthy." Because I think a lot of veteran coaches.
We're talking about Jed?
About Jed, yeah. I think a lot of veteran coaches, that's the route that they would have taken. They would have said, "Hey, I get it. You feel like you can play, but I need you healthy more than I need you at 65% for the majority of the year."
And the problem, and I think the problem with letting him play too, is that it increases the likelihood that you'll get injured again or injure it further, like we're seeing with Baker.
Yeah,
we increase that chance.
Yeah, and then you throw the timing off of the whole offensive line.
Yeah,
because you're not where you're supposed to be, and it's not your fault, but it's
yeah. Well,
it's
the
there.
good news is Blake Hance is playing at a position, and he's being asked to do a monumental task, which is the most critical position on the offensive line, and he's doing it. He's playing just Hance is playing very well.
Yeah. And an interesting thing too that I was just when I was looking at the linemen while we were going over that, you figure what Baker's 6 foot maybe.
I think he's listed at 6'1" actually.
Yeah, and that ain't. I know how that works, but when you look at our guys, man, they're all 6'4". Blake Hance is 6'5". I mean, they are tall dudes and thick. So it's
Teller's giant too.
yeah, it's tough to look around those guys. So you gotta.
We need a big quarterback. There's that kid. What do you? I mean, I don't want to switch gears too far yet, but I would love to get your thoughts on that kid from Cincinnati. I don't know if you've had a chance to see him play yet.
I've been so consumed with Browns football. I don't even. I think I saw 2 college football games this year.
Got it. Well, yeah. There's 2 kids. There's 2 kids out there that have piqued my interest. One is Ole Miss Matt Corral, who was originally intended to go to Florida, and had committed there, and then they got a new coach, and the new coach, instead of calling Matt Corral and be like, "Hey Matt, excited to have you come here," he goes out there and tries to recruit Justin Fields away from Georgia. Matt Corral goes, "You know what? Screw you. I'm going somewhere else." And then now he's arguably the best quarterback in college football, right? So I don't know. We could go down that path, but anyway, I think the other thing I'm interested in, how did James Hudson III, just in general? I know pass block. You said he was adequate. What about on the run block?
He was 14 of 18, and I don't really count 18 because it was Keenum. And he had 4 plays, 3 passes. His score was abysmal, but he came in and clean up work. Hudson was 14th, played 59 plays. He was a 51.5, 65.6 in the run block, or I'm sorry, in the pass block, and a putrid 46.5 in the run block. He's definitely a weak link. He's a practice squad guy. He should not be on the roster.
He's a guy that if we have somebody come back, he's got it. If Wills comes back, then move Hance to the right side.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you and I talk about this all the time on here, text, what have you. I kind of, and I know that nobody really, wants to talk negative about the front office or whatnot, but I think that this is a time where it's warranted. And you mean to tell me this whole time we can't find somebody out on the waiver wire that's better than James Hudson, at least a veteran that is equal to or a little bit better than Hudson, that at least has been there and understands, hey, if I'm getting beat like this, I can, do that to make a difference. Hudson gets beat and it's game over. It's, hey, let me just watch. It's tough.
Whatever happened to Nick Harris?
I think did he get hurt?
He might have been. Yeah, he might have been another guy got hurt.
Yeah.
But we only have one other offensive lineman. We got Michael Dunn,
Hurt.
Hajalt Rohold.
Oh, that's the new guy. Maybe he's ready to take some snaps. I don't know.
In his career, he has two games in his career. 3 years of experience. He's 6'5", 310. He went to Arkansas.
He looks like the offensive lineman version of Jamie Gillen.
I'm gonna send my boy Jake a text right now. He played offensive line at Arkansas, and be like, "You know anything about this guy?"
Look at that insider scoop right here on the Wednesday show.
Third year O lineman from.
While you're doing that, I'll move on.
What is
Ernest Johnson, 63.0.
Okay.
He actually 83.6 in the pass block, pretty solid. Albeit it was 12 plays, but he was 8th. Baker was 10th with a 60.3, 48.2 in the run. I'm sure the shoulder had something to do with it and that's another thing too. And I'm no Baker hate, but as the quarterback, you got to hold on to the ball. He had 3 turnovers. But I digress. Kareem was 11th with a 58. And here's another thing. And you let me know. It was touch and go whether Hunt was going to be able to play or he wasn't going to be able to play. Clearly, he's always a top tier graded guy week in and week out, right?
Yep.
And here he is towards the bottom. And I really believe that was another judgment call where I get it. You Chubb's out. And now you're like, oh, well, Hunt's hurt, but Hunt's a little bit better than even a hurt Hunt it might be better than Ernest Johnson. And I kind of question if Kareem should have went. You know what I mean? I think this staff is sort of very short-sighted, and they're not very, and they're smart guys, obviously, but I feel a very short-sighted kind of way of thinking, as opposed to it's a long season and we've we got miles ahead of us. Instead, you just run your 2 guys into the ground. I think Ernest is going to do fine. I really do, but I think against that team last week, I think Ernest for what we were able to get out of the run game,
he would have been.
I think it'd do nothing, and I think Ernest would have been all right. But the other interesting thing, and then I'll shut up and continue with the scores, is I don't know if you realized, but the Cardinals played a 6-2 defense the other day. They literally dared us to beat them through the air, and we couldn't even do that. So
when you've got a team that has been 100% developed to run the football. 100%. And then you don't run it. This is the most frustrating thing that I said, going into, in the post game. They've got one of the worst run defenses in the league, and we decide to come out, no empty backfield for like 6 straight plays to start the game.
Another puzzling
It's
thing.
crazy.
Absolutely. And you know what? Okay, fine. So they're running six down linemen, and you come out swinging, and the numbers in the secondary tell you somebody somewhere has to be open,
Yeah.
right?
Where where's
And
the
we couldn't find them.
where's the screen passes? Like soak them in. Have those six guys, you know, have those six guys come at you, dump it over the top, and then let your guy let Kareem Hunt let Felton, go and start making some plays. I didn't see any screen passes that were effective. We didn't see play action that was done effectively, and it wouldn't have even been effective anyway if they were going to it, because we didn't establish ourselves as a run threat.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And then he does empty backfield. Then he goes big with, all offense. There was a play where we ran it to the left side. They went two tight ends. It might have even been third tight end, and one wide receiver flanked out to the right. They were running the ball towards the short side of the field. My dad and I look at each other. It's like, oh, this is a run play. And they put 9 guys in the box, and instead of bootlegging off of that and taking a shot, we just run it into just nothing, into a scrum.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, on that Kareem Hunt point, did you see Jake Burns' tweet about how Kareem Hunt obviously should have pitched the ball on the
Yeah.
reverse to OBJ, and the entire field he would have had one guy to beat who had a lead blocker in Baker, who he just could have gotten in the way, and a wide receiver out there blocking the defensive back. The whole team bit on
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt. The whole team. OBJ would have had one of the easiest touchdowns he maybe has ever had in his career, and it would have gone for 50-something yards. He
Yeah.
didn't pitch it.
Nope.
And then
So
instead he got to the line of scrimmage.
yeah. And they all look back at each other like, wait a second, what happened there? So then you go back, at the end of the day, you're at home and you've got false start penalties and holding penalties and pass interference penalties, which some were warranted, and you and I talked about it. I felt that some of them were not, or were rather. But where is the discipline lately? You know,
Yeah.
9 penalties for 88 yards, and
Yep.
this isn't this isn't just a Arizona Cardinals, Cleveland Browns issue. This is every game we've seen this
Yeah,
year.
this is Freddie Kitchens again.
It absolutely is that type of discipline to where, I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly which game it was because it's happened so much, but how many times really we have a second and something and we have a big play, would have moved the chain, false start on Jed, false start on Treader, or a holding, or you know what I mean? It's just a plethora of penalties, and you sit there and you say, why are we so undisciplined? Like, we need to rein it in.
Yeah.
All of it needs to be reined in, and you know, figure it out, because at this point in the season, these stupid penalties, especially false starts at home. I mean, there is nothing worse than a false start at home, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I can tell you what's worse. What's worse is when you have an offensive lineman who doesn't line up on the line of scrimmage. That's worse
That's
than a false start at home.
And he was warned the play before he was
But yeah,
off the
my dad
line.
was asking, how did you know that he was warned? Did they say that, or
Somebody said it, and then when I look back at the tape on it, you could see the line judge or whatever motion over to him or whatever, and then the next play, he was off the line again.
I mean, that's inexcusable. It's inexcusable if it's not like his coach was saying it. It's a third party, a neutral party said, "Hey, if you're not on the line, I'm going to throw the flag." Got it. Off the line. Throws the flag.
Worse off the line than the play before.
It's inexcusable. And then the next play, by the way, my dad and I were looking at it. I was like, he's still cheating the line and creating that kind of V pocket.
And the worst part is,
they'll give you that a little bit.
Yeah, didn't even matter.
Yeah,
he could have started 2 feet back. He's still going to get his doors blown off.
And you know what? It's just offenses are rhythmic, momentum, and when you have a play and you're like, okay, we're moving. Nope, bring it back. Not bring it back for holding. Not bring it back for false start. Not bring it back for personal foul. Not bring it back for illegal hands to the face or chop block or any of the billion things that you could be thrown a flag for. You do it for an unforced error that you were warned the play before. It's almost like he did it on purpose.
Because I can't.
You're either doing it on purpose and you're in on it, or you're incompetent. There's no other rationale that an adult who speaks English and understood what the ref said. Like, what other excuse can you have? Okay, cool. I'll be sure to do that. I'll be sure to line up on the line next play.
Yeah.
What?
It's crazy.
Yellow flag.
You can't even Evan in the chat. It says someone who used to play offensive line. It's insanity to think that you can actually line up off the line, and it is like it's just mind boggling. Especially,
and you know what? I blame Baker too a little bit here.
Right, you got to see that.
Or you blame Teller for being like, look, is Teller not looking to the right and be like, what? Why isn't there somebody to my right? Move up, bro.
Guy. Move up.
Teller has the experience. Baker has the experience. Like, your job as quarterback is to understand what the hell's going on. You have to really have you don't have to have a master understanding of what the scheme is from the offensive line, but you should know what they're doing. You should know where they're lined up. Yeah. And if somebody makes a mistake, it's your job to say, hey man, hey, move up. And they go, okay, cool. He didn't do it. And it's like, it's just, I mean, Aaron Rodgers sees that and says, hey, move up. You know, the experience has it. And that goes to show, I think there's too much going on up here for Baker to be able to catch that. I'm not blaming Baker. I'm not saying it's Baker's fault. It's obviously Hudson's fault. But, you know, it's like there are some checks and balances. There are some mechanisms that go into play that can avoid other mental errors. Anyway, I'll digress. Continue on with the scores.
Yeah, no. So I hopped over to the defensive side, and I mean, you just look at the bottom scores, and it's a.
Let me see if I can pick it out.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna start off with John Johnson and Troy Hill. They got to be at the bottom.
So actually, Troy Hill is 6th with a 72.4, 90.2 in the run defense, 82 tackling grade, and a 64.2 coverage grade, which is He played 69 snaps. John Johnson was 8th, arguably his best game, go figure, as a Brown at a 63.8.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 63.4 in the coverage. He, interesting about John Johnson, and I think it might have been Jake that had the piece on Twitter the other day. But if you look at through his career, how many snaps he played in the box as opposed to as a deep safety, it's obscene to look at. Like this year, it's like something ridiculous, like 200 or 300. I think it was 200, maybe 200 deep, deep safety, playing deep, and it was, or I'm sorry, in the box it was like 200, or no, I'm confusing myself here. 200 playing deep and like 10 shallow. And then if you looked at John Johnson's career when he thrived, those numbers are obscene. They're like 450 snaps in the box to like 30
So
in deep
he's
coverage.
not a deep coverage safety.
No. So we literally to this at this point on going into week 7, we drafted a guy or drafted a guy. We picked up a guy in free agency for a lot of money, a very talented
And we're
guy.
playing him out of his natural position.
Correct. So
Thanks, Joe
that
Woods.
yeah, there's that.
And if
right?
you have access to this, a season ticket holder fan, how the hell does Joe Woods not have access to this?
Yeah. You wonder, like the only thing I could think of, and I was thinking about this earlier today, is it's almost like if you picture like I don't even know how I can describe it, but he is a defensive coordinator that runs his system, and I'm sure he'd be able to figure out a different type of system, but he learned and studied and learned and studied in this particular scheme. So as much maybe, and I don't know, because I don't know Joe Woods, but it seems to me that these kind of guys get pigeonholed into their scheme, so to speak. And
what championship has Joe Woods won with this scheme?
none. No, he's been horrible everywhere he goes. But that's my point. Like, somebody could be telling him right now, look, you need to play, more man, or, total man across the board, lose the whole zone coverage. But he just doesn't know how, because he only knows what he knows. You know what I mean? Like he knows the defense that he studied for years and under the tutelage of some good people. I'm sure. I don't know his tree, but this is what you get with Joe Woods. And you would hope, Mike, to your point, that if we know this, that they get help and figure it the hell out. But
yeah, I'm selling Joe Woods like as soon as we can sell him. I want him gone.
I don't disagree with you.
I can't. I've seen, he fooled me once with the Bears game and the Vikings. He fooled me. But I'm not being fooled again.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of it. I can't. I have no faith in him. I have no confidence that he's going to be able to stop even an average offense, even with his nearly full complement of players. I think Joe Woods is one of the biggest problems we have here. He is not aggressive. He's playing guys clearly out of position. That stat that you gave about John Johnson playing out of position where he naturally has played and thrived in his career is disgusting to sit there and go, you know what? Go play way out there. It's disgusting to think that.
I mean, yeah. And to think of the kind of guy he is up at the line of scrimmage, and then you've got Clowney and you've got Miles and you've got the two Maliks who have played well, and Jock, albeit he's gone right now, and you can't figure out a way to get pressure or to disguise, pressure off the edge and but then drop them. And you see it every week in the NFL, that these types of things where, it looks like they're coming off the edge. You confuse the quarterback. That guy doesn't blitz. He drops out. And the next thing you know, it's Diggs running for a 40-yard, pick six, which, I mean, we can't even get I can't even remember. Have we even had an interception that we've actually been able to return? I feel like every interception we've had,
Greedy, no.
which is like two. I think there were two: Malcolm Smith and Greedy. I'm trying to think of another one, but I can't. Can you? Malcolm Smith and Greedy. I can't think of any other interceptions. I think we have like 2 interceptions on the year, because Diggs has 7, and I think we have 2.
We don't. We're not turning the ball over, on defense really well at all.
No,
like we're losing that, and the fact that it's like Kyler Murray dropped the ball 3 times. And we weren't there. We weren't there to jump on it. And it's like, okay, well, we didn't get any of those breaks. The ball didn't bounce well in our favor at all. And we deserved to lose that game. We didn't play well. We didn't coach well. And that's it. So let's head over to the effing Broncos section of the show. And then we'll do the giveaway here.
Hey, you want an interesting stat real quick, Mike?
Yeah.
And I'll throw it out real quick. Receiving versus coverage the other day. Christian Kirk did horrible against Anthony Walker, horrible against Troy Hill, horrible against John Johnson, horrible against Denzel. Mm-hmm. Ronnie Harrison, Greedy Williams, that's where he did a lot of his damage. John Johnson did well against AJ Green. It was Greedy. They got beat up against him. DeAndre Hopkins, believe it or not, Jock had a 67.5 coverage against him, and Newsome had a 43.6. So, I mean, just that stat alone, and I'll let us get to the rest of the show, but just that stat alone shows you how bad we're gonna miss Jock in the run. Do
we know how long? Game. Do we have an idea how long he's out?
Typically it's like a 4 to 6 week kind of thing. I think it depends on the severity of it. It was so odd because I like I said, I literally watched it like 25 times in a row, and it was just such a peculiar play because he squared up and made the tackle, but when he made the tackle, I think it was Edmonds. It was Edmonds or Connor. They sort of spun a little bit as he was making contact. And when his body moved along with it, his ankle just got stuck under there, and both their weight like sort of landed on him. And you just saw him roll it. So,
and he was looking at Defensive Player of the Year.
Easy. Yeah. Easy.
And it's not to say that if he misses 4 games, I think he could still be in the conversation. He loses 6 games.
I don't. Tough. It is, and I don't. I was looking at the schedule, and you figure we count this as one of his weeks, I'm sure. So you figure Broncos 1, Steelers 2,
yep.
Bengals 3, the Patriots 4, the Lions 5. The week leading up to the Ravens on Monday night would be 6. Then you've got the bye week, and then you're home against the Ravens. So I would imagine if it's not extremely severe where, it's going to be one of those things where after 3 weeks, they just shut him down because it hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking in the hopes that it's of the 4 to 6 variety.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's not that severe, he could be back by the Ravens game on Sunday Night Football. But I would probably say if it's on the middle of the road towards worse, at that point you probably just let him sit that game too, and then you got the bye week, and then he comes back home against the Ravens in December.
What is that? Is that 8 full weeks then? That
would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 8 that would be a full 8 weeks. So,
well,
hoping it's the lesser, but I guess it all depends on how bad it was.
Yeah,
because they didn't. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just like how bad it is. Maybe even situationally, like how we are. If we lose 4 games in a row, they'd be like, take a little extra time, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there. I think it also depends on where we are.
Yeah.
Effing
Broncos. So, I think the Broncos historically have given us fits.
Yep.
In the time when you and I were kids.
Yep.
And ever since then, obviously the rivalry hasn't. I mean, there really hasn't been a rivalry because we haven't been good. So there's nothing to be rival about with a team outside of your division if you're not good. And honestly, they haven't really been all that good other than, the Peyton Manning couple years.
Yep.
And I don't really expect this to be any. I expect this to just be a regular football game. But I'll tell you this. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I grew up not necessarily hating the Steelers. They just didn't matter because they weren't good. I wasn't afraid of, of Bubby Brister. I was just like, oh, they have one of the bottom tier quarterbacks. Meh, they don't care.
Yep.
The Bengals in the 80s with Boomer Esiason was a good team. The Houston Oilers with Warren Moon was a very good team. But the team that I hated the most was the Denver Broncos because they took away from me they were like it was the Broncos and then it quickly turned into the Ravens. Immediately turned into the Ravens.
Rightfully so.
But there was some tape that the Broncos tweeted out, like some of their best plays against the Browns, non-drive related or fumble game related. But man, the way that John Elway threw the football, like his actual delivery is unlike any quarterback I think I've ever seen. He used to like dip his head back to the side and then gun it. And if you would take guys like Dan Marino and John Elway and Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, Boomer Esiason, Kosar, you take those guys and you put them in the rules where you can't touch them at all. I mean, these guys would have lit it up statistically. Now, if you go back and look at Elway's stats, Elway's typical stats are like Baker stats last year. They're just okay. It went beyond. It was well before the quarterbacks were throwing 50 touchdowns a year.
Yep.
And it was very much a running league, smash mouth kind of football back in the 80s and 90s. But man, John Elway was, although I don't like him, I mean, I have
you can't deny it.
Incredible amount of respect for him. And then all those Super Bowls that they lost. What did he lose? 3 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
And then went on to win 2 in a row and then just like tied the knot with that one, the last one.
As much as I can't stand the Broncos and I couldn't stand John Elway, I didn't mind seeing him win the Super Bowl only because like same with Dan. I would have loved to seen Dan Marino get a ring or even like a Warren Moon, like those guys that were just so good at their position. Like you wish that, all of them could get.
Yeah. I wish out of all of them, Jim Kelly would have got it. Buffalo is like, I think we all as Browns fans kind of have a shared respect for Buffalo, and their fan base is just as passionate as ours. And for them to have not been able to win 3 years in a row, I mean, that's, I know we had some bad moments with John Elway in the 80s, but man, losing the actual game 3 years in a row is that's really devastating. That's soul crushing. And I feel bad for those guys. Like, oftentimes like you're judged by that, Dan Marino is, I mean, Dan Marino is unbelievable. He was before his time. Yeah. And unfortunately they couldn't put a team around him. No. John Elway, really, if he didn't have Terrell Davis, he was the one and their defense, John Lynch and those guys. I mean, without Terrell Davis, man, like that was, and in one of the Super Bowls, he was dealing with massive concussions. They had to use him as a decoy.
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny, one thing real quick, when you're talking about, the hate and stuff for like the Ravens and obviously the respect for the Bills and stuff. I think for me, that's why don't get me wrong, I dislike the Steelers, but I don't get caught up in them. And the only reason I say that is because, they were one of the only ones, one of 2 that stood up and fought for us to keep our franchise. So, for me, I always have that in the back of my mind, as much as I dislike the Steelers.
Who was the other one?
The Bills.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So as much as I dislike the Steelers, I don't mind them as much as the Ratbirds, but
sure. Well, if you really think about it too, like what happened to the Browns could have easily happened to the Bills and to the Steelers as well. As storied a franchise as the Pittsburgh Steelers, Pittsburgh is has been for a long time an economically depressed city.
Well, there's also, I don't know if you heard, but and it was they were talking about it a little bit about a couple of weeks ago. I would say about 3 weeks ago, and then it sort of died down. But they were talking about the lease being up over at uh, what is it, Rich Stadium, or what? I can never remember the name of the Bill Stadium, but
Yeah, I don't remember.
I want to say Rich Stadium anyway. And is it possible the Bills go to Houston? That was one of the
Yeah, I do
conversations.
remember that. I do remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So
And they were going to lose their
interesting.
mind. And then there's, or possibly even go to Toronto.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, if they would have gone, if they had to move, they had to go anywhere. If they went to Toronto, that wouldn't hurt that bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, it sucks. You got to go through customs, but it's basically the same damn city,
Right.
right? So, it wouldn't be as bad. It would just be like, come on, this is annoying.
Right.
But so F the Broncos anyway.
Yeah.
Sabo giveaway, Sabo apparel giveaway. Let's go ahead and do it.
Good stuff.
1 to 100 in chat. We're doing it the old school way. Okay, 1 to 100. I got my number in now.
Who is gonna take it?
Yep. So go for Sabo apparel. I'm not wearing. I'm wearing 47 brand tonight, which is a
Very
shirt.
nice. You're very coordinated with the elf. You know what? I was gonna wear the elf to go with the elf.
Yeah.
Look, I'm pointing to the wrong side. Here. And then I went with my crucial catch.
It's festive. I always see those, and I'm like, there's just something about the crucial catch that I don't know. It feels insincere. I don't know why. It just does.
Now, the good thing is all the proceeds from all the crucial catch stuff goes to cancer research.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, now I don't feel as bad. I'm still not going to get it because they still look ugly. But I will tell you this. I think the elf, and this was, historically, the elf was something that was always just way, way in the background. It wasn't anything that we brought out to life as being like, this is the symbol that we want to get behind. But over the last couple years, I would say at least since Dorsey and even a little bit before that, Dorsey was really the one who kind of really brought it back, where he was like, this is a franchise that was, the elf was part of the franchise when I was there, and we're going to bring this to the front. And Dorsey would wear the hat. But I got to tell you, I think the elf symbolizes the team and everything about the Browns more than the helmet.
If they went to the elf, I would be tickled pink. And you know what's funny, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice the sweatshirts on field this week?
On field sweatshirts? No.
So the on field stuff, as you know, because I'm a junkie for it.
Yeah.
And I buy the whole damn outfit, head to toe, away hat, home hat, the jersey, not the jersey, the sweatshirt, the shirts, the pants, the shorts. Anyway.
Yeah.
If you go back and look after we're done at what Stefanski was wearing on the sideline, he was wearing the on-field sweatshirt this year, except the only difference is the ones that you can buy in the store that they wear have the helmet. This weekend, Stefanski was wearing the one with the elf, and they don't sell it.
Huh.
Yep.
Are you talking about not the equipment, not the Browns?
Nope, not the equipment, the actual on-field. So Google right now the on-field sweatshirt.
Okay. Browns on-field sweatshirt.
And when you pull it up, you might see a brown one or a gray one. There's two. There's two versions of it. And it's got like a little circle up top, and it says the Cleveland Browns, and then it has a helmet in the middle.
Okay, I'm pulling it up right now. Sweatshirts and fleece. No. Okay, it has a Describe it one more time.
So it's got like a circle kind of logo up top, and it says Cleveland Browns, and then it's got the helmet in the middle.
Got it. Yeah, it has a little circle
Yes.
lines. Cleveland
And they
Browns helmet. Okay.
yes, and they make it in brown and gray.
Okay. I see it in brown, but okay.
Yep. And they had the gray one earlier in the year because I was going back and forth, and I actually bought the brown one that you're looking at, and I bought the gray zip up that matches the gray pants that they wear on the field.
Okay.
But point being, they only released that version in gray and brown.
They did
And
not
then
release the elf.
correct. And then Stefanski rolled out with the elf on it for the game. Like if you Google pictures of him from last game, you'll see it.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. The number, it was 99. I went with a very big number because we need a big win tomorrow. So
Who got it?
Blackheart wins.
Boom.
All right, Blackheart, if you're still here, send me an email to browniepostgame@gmail.com. Browniepostgame@gmail.com. And I need your name, address, size, and what shirt you would like from t-shirt you would like from saboapparel.com. I know that's a lot of instructions. I used to type it out and it would take me forever to type it out, so I'll say it one more time. Just send me an email, Blackheart, to browniepostgame@gmail.com with your name, email address, size, not email, your name, actual physical address, shirt size, and what shirt you want from Sabo Apparel, and we'll get that out to you. Final thoughts, Mike? What?
Must win.
I'll give it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, must win. Like I don't even usually, as you know, I get kind of profound during this portion of the Wednesday show, but I really I've got nothing. My final thought is you coach tomorrow night like your life depends on it, and that's all areas of the ball. You play like your life is on the line, and we see where it falls. I think if they do those things, this team that they're playing is not an exceptional team, and I think Fangio is going to be gone sooner rather than later. And you just got to play like your life depends on it. You got to coach that way. You got to play that way. And I think if they do, then this season will be back on track. We'll be off life support. And next week then becomes a big game. If they lose tomorrow, even with the injuries, I think it could be ugly next week, and we're going to be it's going to be worrisome because if we know that this could be the difference make or break in the season, they sure do. So that's where I'm at. You got to play like it's like it's the last thing you can do.
Yep. I think we, I'm starting to buy into Keenum going tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah.
I've seen quarterbacks that I had no interest in cheering for in the past play for the Browns, but it is what it is.
Yep.
And we may end up having to see him, for the Halloween game. Would be unfortunate. I've seen Baker play before, both in regular season and preseason before, so it's not like I've never seen Baker play. But I'm hoping we get our guys back. Hoping we play well. I think it is a must-win 100%. If we lose this game, then we've proven that we can beat the lower tier with our top team. But this is going to be one where we don't have our top team.
Yeah,
we do not. We are in harm's way. So we have to show what this team is made of, and hopefully Stefanski can get this one right. But if I'm the Denver Broncos and I'm kind of feeling the same way, like we have a chance, right now where they're super beat up and they're super demoralized and their quarterback's not going and all that. I mean, if I'm the Broncos, I'm loving this. I'm like, okay, now we got a shot. Because there's no way in hell the Broncos are beating the full strength Browns that we saw against Kansas City.
Yeah.
No way. So I don't know. I'm not even sure what the line is on the game.
Last I checked, I think it might have been 3.5.
Well, we shall see then.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I'm glad, to be honest, I'm glad we're having a midweek game. It's always kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's always a late night for me because, we got the pregame, we got the postgame. So there's a lot going on. And which we're going to do both. We're committed. Again, at one point, the thought of this channel was just post-game shows and occasional hype videos. That's what it was. And then the pregame show started to be a lot more fun, and the Wednesday show started to be a lot more fun. And then, the postgame show is one of our shorter ones, our shorter live shows for the week.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mike, thank you again as always for joining. And everybody in chat, Blackheart, congratulations on that. Send me that email. I'll get it out to the Sabo guys tomorrow.
Congrats.
Other people in chat, I saw Rick Adkins is here. How's it going, Rick? Everybody else. Neo, Kadena, Troy Kowalski, Mike R. Mike R guy.
Who is that guy?
He shows up every week. And, doesn't say much, but what he says is always like top notch. Just Me is here. Fly Guy showed up. We had a lot. Ara, Squabble Lane were here. So love you guys. Thank you very much. And we will see you tomorrow night. I got to set it up. I haven't even set up the stream yet, but we'll see you tomorrow night. And go Browns.
Go Brownie.